Well, Rick, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
So at the outset, let's look at one of the myths.
Yeah.
The myth is that if you have head lice, then you're obviously dirty.
No, that's totally untrue. You'll find head lice. People that are scrupulously clean can still get head lice. Obviously, head lice. The studies show that head lice are more common in people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, but you'll find head lice in any strata or socioeconomic strata of the community.
So what actually are they? What are head lice?
They're insects. They're wingless insects. They've got 6 legs, but they're highly specialised. They're totally adapted to live on humans. They won't live on any other animal. If they don't get a feed of human blood, they're finished.
Are they similar to other lice? People talk about pubic lice and body lice and so on.
They're very closely related to body lice. Body lice are actually badly named. Body lice are really clothes lice. So the body lice live in the clothes and come down to the skin to feed. They'll lay their eggs in the clothes. Head lice live in the hair and they come down to the scalp to feed. And they actually live in the hair.
And they don't live on the scalp itself. They don't walk around. Why is that?
No.
Why do they live in the hair?
They're highly specialised to live on the hair, and they've got 6 legs. Being insects, they've got 6 legs, and at the end of each leg there's a claw which is perfectly adapted for hanging onto hair, and they move backwards and forwards quite rapidly.
So if a head lice was removed from the head and placed on any other surface apart from hair, how would it cope?
On smooth surfaces, it's totally useless because the ends of the legs are claws like a crab's claw, adapted for hanging onto hairs. So on a smooth surface, they can hardly move. They're just
They can move a little bit, but they're very clumsy. They're very like a seal out of water.
Yeah, very very clumsy. They've got nothing to grab onto.
And how do they transfer? They don't have wings. They don't crawl well on other substances apart from hair. So how do they transfer?
They'll transfer by hair-to-hair contact. So our hypothesis is that you'll have somebody who has head lice. The head lice will be attached to their hair, and that hair from another person comes into contact with them, and the head lice will grab hold of that hair, and when that person moves away, the head lice will tend to go with the hair that's moving.
So they basically do a Tarzan act. There's no jumping, no flying.
No, they can't fly, they can't jump, and so it's going to be by intimate contact.
Okay.
Essentially, when you're thinking of head lice transmission, think of hair-to-hair contact.
Yeah, okay. So how about hats and things like that?
Yeah, hats are interesting. When we do our school-based program in the early stages, we looked at a lot of hats. So we'd examine the children, and then we'd get them to bring their hat, and we'd examine the hat at the same time. And so we probably looked at around about 3,000 to 4,000 hats, and the same number of children. We didn't find any head lice on hats. The risk of hats being a common source of transmitting head lice is very low.
Okay. How about other environments like carpet and so on?
Carpet, virtually zero. We did a study in schools where we looked at examined children for head lice in schools, and when the children were out of the classroom, we actually went in and vacuumed the classroom floor. We used a filter, and we couldn't find any head lice on those floors. And on the kids' heads, we found about 7,500 head lice.
7,500 in that room, and there was none on the environment apart from in the heads.
Now the other factor is we've started a study looking at pillowcases on beds, and so when children get up in the morning, we ask the mothers to put their pillowcase in a plastic bag. They bring the child and the pillowcase into us. We estimate the number of lice on the heads, the number of lice in the pillowcases. Now we've found a couple of lice on pillowcases.
How about the rest of the bed, Rick?
The further away that the lice gets from the head, the less chance of transmitting there is.
Why is that?
Because it's a time factor. A louse off the head is on a time clock. If it doesn't get a feed within a certain period of time, it's going to die.
So the risk of the sheets and that transmitting head lice is fairly low?
I think it's fairly low. And the risk of transmitting head lice from the pillowcase is fairly low as well, because there's only very small numbers of lice there.
So if you find that a child has head lice, the best preventative measure in the bedroom is to forget about the carpets, forget about dry cleaning, vacuuming the carpets.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, and the bedding, what do we do with the pillowcase when
You need heat. So if you've got access to a dryer, 15 minutes in a household dryer kills head, 100% effective.
Yeah.
Hot wash is 100% effective as well.
The main focus of the attention should be on the head itself.
On the head itself. Yeah, and I might point out too that I suppose the information about pillow slips is fairly new, and we in the past have focused totally on the head and haven't concerned ourselves at all about treating pillow slips or bedding, and we've certainly been able to cure cases of head lice quite effectively. Head lice's life cycle is spent totally on the head. There's adult males and females. They lay eggs. The eggs take about 7 days to hatch. When they hatch, there's a small nymph, a baby head lice comes out, and after about 10 days, it then becomes an adult. So from hatching of the egg to adult is 10 days, and once it becomes an adult, if it's an adult female and it mates with a male, you can then start laying eggs again.
Now, in an active head lice cycle, you need to have two things. You need to have crawlers, which are the insects, the lice, and you need to have live eggs. Now, the crawlers are the little insects, and they're very easy to distinguish, and I'll show you how to do that very shortly. Eggs are a little bit more difficult to tell. Now, eggs that are more than 1 to 1.5 centimetres away from the scalp, so that means between the scalp and where the egg is sitting on the hair is more than 1 to 1.5 centimetres away from the scalp, then those eggs are either dead or hatched, they're finished. And you'll find that if your child has had head lice for a long time, then you'll find eggs right out in the head, 4 centimetres, 5 centimetres out, and most of the time they'll be a white-looking egg, and they're finished. They don't constitute an active head lice cycle. Remember, you have to have the two things. You have to have crawlers and live eggs. Now, for a head lice cycle to be broken, what is needed is there to be no more crawlers and no more active or live eggs. Now we're going to have a look at the 4-step flow chart, and in that chart we're going to learn how to detect head lice, how to effectively apply any treatment, how to know whether the head lice are resistant to the product that we're using, and the importance of reapplying the treatment on the 7th day. Okay, now we need to learn how to detect to see who has got head lice and who hasn't. What we need is just a bottle of no frills type conditioner, so a cheap big bottle of conditioner, a box of white tissues, a normal comb and a fine tooth comb, and you completely lather the dry hair with the conditioner. So you rub it right through and you make sure that you get right into the scalp and right out to the tips. You use the normal comb to detangle the hair, so just run it through and detangle the hair. Then you get your fine tooth comb and you run it through the hair, especially around the ears and the back of the neck, and as you run it through you'll notice that the conditioner starts to build up on the comb. Then you just take the comb and wipe it onto a tissue, and if there's any head lice there, you'll see them pulled off the comb onto the tissue, and you'll see in the white conditioner you'll see little insects in there. The people who don't have the insects don't have a head lice problem. They might have those eggs there that are out away from the scalp more than 1 to 1.5 centimetres, but if they don't have those crawlers in there on that tissue, then they don't have an active head lice problem. So if there's no insects, there is no infection, no need to treat. If there is insects, definitely need to go to the next step. One of the main causes of failure in a head lice treatment is incorrect application. So we need to effectively apply the treatment that we're using, and that means making sure that all of the hair is covered from the tips of the hair right through the scalp. What happens if there is areas where the treatment doesn't reach? then the head lice will gravitate to that area. They'll run to the safe area and they'll stay there until the risk is over. It is important to make sure that you thoroughly comb the treatment right through the hair and all the hair is covered. The other major failure of treatments is head lice being resistant to the product you're using. It's very simple to detect. What we do is make sure that the treatment is right through the hair, from the scalp through to the tips, and then after 20 minutes run a fine-tooth comb through the hair, just like if we were detecting head lice. Get the build-up of treatment on the comb and then rub the comb onto a tissue. Look at the tissue and you'll see the head lice have been pulled off and are on the tissue, and have a look at those head lice carefully. You'll see if they're motionless or they're in one place quivering, then you know that the treatment is effective. But if the head lice are starting to progress across the tissue or move across the tissue, then they are resistant to the product that you were using. Now what you need to do then is look at the bottle of the product you were using, open up the video case and look at the chart and look at which active ingredient the product you were using has. You'll need to go and choose another product with another active ingredient. The chances are that the head lice will be resistant to all the products with the same active ingredient that you were using. Once we have determined that the head lice are affected by the product we're using and we have killed all the head lice in the hair, then what we've got is no more crawlers. There is no more adults there to lay eggs. All you've got in the hair then is eggs. And in the next 7 days, those eggs will hatch. But they won't become fertile and start laying eggs until 10 days. So here's the secret. Don't sit there and pull all the eggs out. Don't run combs through the hair and trying to get all the eggs out of the hair. What you need to do now is for the next 7 days, just put the comb and conditioner in the hair. Each night when your child comes home, get the conditioner, put it in the hair, comb out all the lice that hatch during the day, and then on the 7th day, use the same product that was effective and retreat again. So we've removed all the crawlers, both babies and adults, and there are no longer any active or live eggs in the hair. We've broken the head lice cycle. And that's without pulling out eggs, that's without washing sheets, that's without vacuuming carpets. And you can see how easy it is to control the head lice cycle in your family. One thing that you might find that you have treated your children and the head lice cycle is broken, and then they go to school and the next day or two you're combing through the hair and you see some big adults in there. What's happened is they've gone to school and they've been cross-infected by somebody else. If you're finding that you can break the cycle in your children but they are picking adults up from their friends at school, then maybe it's time to go and talk to their friends' parents and do the breaking the head lice cycle process all together on the same day. And you'll find that there won't be the cross-infection problem. So during the course of this video, I hope that we have made the whole process of getting rid of head lice in your family a lot simpler. It is easy, you can take control, and you can break the head lice cycle in your family.